Welcome to DAX Machina. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us for another edition of DAX Machina. Joining me tonight is Robbie, wearing his Clemson shirt representing, and Norman Meredith is in the house again tonight. We probably won't be. We have a doc sighting because he's teaching a class in Washington State, and y'all please keep Anthony's family in your prayers. They had a death in the family, so I don't think he's going to be joining us tonight as well. We might possibly be having William Nighthawk join us, but I haven't heard back from him. He'd mentioned something about joining, but for the moment, it's just the three of us, and we will see what we can get thrown y'all's way to keep things going. Guys, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Doing great. Couldn't be finer.
Split, finer, as Doc would say, finer than frog hair split four ways.
Yep.
It's about right.
Well, I am excited tonight because we're going to be doing some more Dogman encounters, but there was something I wanted to bring up before we started. A buddy of mine sent me this today, and it's a Facebook group for Missouri homesteaders. In fact, let me see if I can just, I will download this picture and see if I can upload it here so you guys can see it direct. But this was just sent to me by a buddy of mine just a few minutes ago. And I think you guys can get a kick out of this.
You okay?
Oh, it's not going to load right. God dang it. Okay, never mind. Melon's weird about pictures. I would have to set it up specifically. You've got to do the photos about pictures. I would have. We are picking up somebody's. Well, you hear that motorcycle, Robbie? But
yeah.
Well, anyway, this is from a Facebook group called Missouri Homesteaders. I won't say the name of the fella who posted this, but this was posted just earlier today on this Missouri Homesteaders page, and I would like to reach out to this guy to see if I can have a chat with him. But he says, this is the comment. He says, I have a fellow homesteader neighbor next door who found their baby goats decapitated this morning. Any idea what might have done that?
Well, it depends on whether the cuts are ragged or clean.
Well, it doesn't say, but it seems pretty weird that they found a bunch of decapitated farm animals.
I mean, it could be a cryptid. It could be Satanist. It could be plain maliciousness. But the first two things I'd want to look at is whether the wounds are ragged or clean cut, so that way I can work on the next step of figuring out what it could be.
Well, it doesn't say. I think I'm going to try to get to be part of this group. I'm not a Missouri homesteader, but I would like to be. But I'm going to try to join this Missouri homesteaders group and reach out to this guy.
Isn't that the calling card of chupacabras? Don't they usually go after goats?
Yeah, they go after goats, but they drain the blood.
Oh, because this was just decapitated. It wasn't
decapitated. I would like to talk to that guy and find out because, well, I know it posts where it's at, but I don't really want to say until I have a chance to reach out to the guy. But it seems to me that's pretty freaking bizarre that something would decapitate these goats. Now, I was pretty much an idiot kid when I lived on the farm, and we did stupid stuff plenty of times, like toilet paper people's houses or egging them.
Oh, yeah.
I've never once decapitated an animal. To me, that's not a harmless prank.
No.
John Doe says many animals would decapitate their prey. Well, it doesn't say anything about them being fed on. It just said they were decapitated. So I need to get a hold of that. I got one of the comments. Okay, Crystal, I sure will. I will reach out to him and see if because he's the one that sent it to me. But I want to look into that and see if I can't get a hold of that fella and find out more information about that. But Miriam Nunn says, I think when I found my goat, everything was eaten except for the head and spine. It's and especially since it says baby goats plural, it doesn't say it happened to just one. So it leads me to think that whatever did it was either something that was just pure malicious, or something big did it. Again, I can't say it's cryptid related, but considering all the weird crap that happens here in Missouri, I think it's certainly worth checking into. Aaron de Urso says, hello, D.A. Roberts. Hello. Hey, thank you for joining us. Hey, Naoma's in the house. Naoma, if you want to jump in and join us, you're welcome to. Shoot me a message, and I'll be happy to send you the link. But we're gonna talk about some Dogman encounters. These are all from the files of the NADP. Hopefully, I've picked through ones that we haven't read before. I tried to pick ones that we hadn't discussed, and the one that I have at the very end is one I know we've actually discussed before on a channel, but it's one I find the most intriguing, and I definitely want to do it again. Mark Napier's in the house. Looks like we got a full house tonight, folks.
Yep.
We're already 77 and climbing.
Wow.
Norm, your mic's a little close to you. We getting every time you breathe, we were picking that up pretty heavy.
Sorry.
No problem. It just is what it is. And Naomi says, can't tonight, DA. I'm working on formatting my book and listening to your show in the background, but I'm here listening. Awesome. Thank you. Well, who would like to be the first to read the first account?
I'll take it.
You got it, Norm? Good. Okay.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Maybe he'll look out and get the long one then.
Yeah, it'll give you a moment of reprieve.
I don't think this is one we've done before, although it is from Oklahoma. So let me pull up, Norm. I'm going to send this to your Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
So here you go. And again, it has not been edited in any way. So this is exactly as it was sent into the NADP. So if it's a little squiffy,
I'll make do. I'll proofread other people's work.
And Robbie, I'm sending you one that's not quite War and Peace, but it's kind of long. It's longer than Norm's. We'll put it that way.
You ready?
Fire it up.
Okay. Oklahoma, Tulsa County, February 2016. I heard my dog barking and growling around 3 a.m. one night. I got up and went to our back door to see what she was barking at. When I did, I saw her running up and down the backyard fence line, barking, growling, and urinating, all along the fence.
I got to go into the settings.
With her tail tucked in. My first thought was predator. I knew something was wrong. I focused my eyes to see if I could see what she was barking at and whispered, "Holy!" I saw something bent over in a circle that was black and looked like it had a mane like a lion. I looked at it for about 15 seconds and decided to run to the bathroom and get my head wrapped out. I put it on my head and ran to the back den and saw that it was still there. I carefully turned on the light and shined it right on it. When I did that, it turned around and looked in my direction. Then it ran down the fence line with a smaller one in front of it. The best way I could describe it would be to say that it was the size of a lion, it had yellow eyes, pointed ears, huge shoulders, and a huge chest. It ran on all fours. Also, this thing was so fast, it only took about 2 seconds to run down the fence line. This wolf was way faster than my dog. I woke up my wife and told her what just had happened. I then went to the computer and Googled huge wolves in America. Under images, I found a cartoon drawing of someone dead, and his head and mane looked just like what I saw. It was called a Dogman. Today is April 25th, 2016, and I was listening to episode 90 of your Dogman program on YouTube. As I was listening, I heard your story about Daryl Robertson. When you said that happened in a suburb of Tulsa, Oklahoma, I jerked my head around and looked at your website. I decided to give this report to you so you can warn people about these things. All done.
That it's not a real in-depth one, but
I mean,
You got to consider, now, you don't always get an in-depth report from a front sighting,
true.
especially
But
at night.
considering the behavior of the dog, it was definitely a large predator.
Definitely.
Hope William logs back in here in a second, because
Okay.
I don't know if he thought we could hear him because Norm was in the middle of reading, but
But yeah, I mean, like I said, not in depth, but I mean, that's still a pretty good sighting. I mean,
Oh yeah. I mean, you got a basic description. Some of the events going around, I'll say that's probably better than some that see something across a field and don't tell you anything else. So whether this took 30 seconds to a minute or more, I think they did pretty good for their description.
I think it was a good description. But like I said, it wasn't one some of the most in-depth stories we've seen. But I would still definitely call it a good sighting.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think if I went out in the backyard and saw my dog doing that, I would be returning with a large caliber handgun.
Yep.
Or rifle.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I live in a condo, so I got limited places to keep all my weapons. And I get enough head shaking when they come in and see them laying around.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
No.
Norm, if you want to give any of your weapons a nice place to stay, free room and board, I'll be glad to give them a place to stay.
Me too.
I'll leave them to you and DA, and that way you guys can fight over who gets them.
We'll split them even, DA.
There we go.
All right, you ready for this one?
Go forward. I want to hear it.
Fire it up.
All right, Louisiana, Jefferson Parish description, 11/17/2012. My encounter happened a few years ago in South Jefferson Parish, Louisiana. Here in Louisiana, we call counties parishes, in case you didn't know. Here comes the funny part. I was hunting deer or wild pigs one night. Don't know if I'd have said that. I would probably say wild pigs, but anyway. I believe that's just a little bit illegal hunting deer at night, but I digress.
Just a touch. I don't know. They're Cajuns. I mean, yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
It could be private land.
It was for food. Deer, wild pigs one night on protection of a levee system that was built to protect the town from hurricane floodwaters. As I walked to where the levee turns off to the left, there was a canal.
Okay.
Now
I can hear you guys.
Awesome. We're doing Dogman encounter stories.
Oh, okay.
Welcome, William.
What's up, William?
How we doing, Robbie and Norman? How we doing, brother? Good to see you.
Good. Appreciate you joining us.
I appreciate you letting me come on.
Hey, anytime. You're always welcome.
Dogman encounters, huh?
Yep, we've got some from the files of the NADP.
Oh, cool. All right. I'm all
Robbie?
ears.
Go ahead, brother.
All right. Where the levee turns off to the left, there was a canal woods, that was written, that was about 100 yards from some houses. To the left was a natural ridge that goes out into the swamps and marshes. Well, as I made the turn from that ridge of oak trees, I heard a growl. I thought it might have been a coyote or a dog, so I walked slower. Then I heard brush and smaller sized tree shake and another growl. I shined my light in the direction of the sound and saw a pair of eyes that were reflecting an amber yellow color. What surprised me was the fact that the brush was about 6 foot high and the eyes were about a foot above the brush. When I saw those eyes, I slowly backed up while keeping my light on the thing. As I walked back to the turn to head back to my truck, which was parked about 3/4 of a mile away, it came out of the woods. I lit the thing up with my light again. Now I was probably 30 feet away from it. I saw its whole body and face. The body was covered with black hair with some brown mixed in. The hair was thickest around its head, neck, and chest and upper back. It looked a lot like a lion's mane, but wasn't as pronounced. Since all the hair was the same color, it was more pronounced since all the hair was the same color. Sorry. It had pointy ears with a little bit of hair coming off the points, making the ears seem a little longer. It stood on two legs, but the legs were weird and backwards like. The arms were really long, longer than the legs. Its hands were like a mixture of human and bear, it, like really big raccoon front paws. It had paws, but it also had fingers. The only way to describe it, if you watch the movie The Howling, you'll get an idea of what this thing looked like. It's as if whoever made that movie knew something others didn't. Now at this point, I was freaking out, so I pulled up my rifle. I hunt with a Romanian AK and with a camo paint job. I don't know why that was relevant, but he's got a camo paint job on it.
Cajuns.
Yeah, because if you drop that in the woods, you want to be able to find it.
Yeah. Okay. But you get this next line. This is funny. Okay, had a camo. It wouldn't be out. I wouldn't be out much money if I had to toss it. You called it. The rounds I used were special rounds made to hunt feral hogs. I've dropped deer and hogs with these rounds before. I shot one shot and they're done. But back to the story. As I pulled my rifle up to the ready, it growled and walked a few steps toward me. I fired a round into its chest area. I knew I hit it because the creature took a step back. As it stepped back, I ran towards the truck. That's when it let out a loud growl and a howl like I'd never heard before. I grew up hunting and fishing and thought I knew everything in the woods, but I hadn't heard anything like the sounds it made before. As I ran back to the truck, it stalked me, but kept its distance. As I got close to the well-lit area where my truck was parked by the town library and elementary school, it stopped following me. I tried to find anyone who may have had similar encounters in the area, but all I could find was old legends of the Rougarou, which is pronounced Rougarou.
Cajuns. No disrespect to them.
I got family who are Cajuns, and it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I told my grandpa about what had happened, and he told me, but he told me it was a friend who had. Okay, that don't make no sense. I told my grandpa about it, but told him it was a friend who had told me that it happened to him. So
I get what he's saying. He told his grandpa, but he said it was a friend that it happened to, not him.
Yeah,
probably so his grandpa wouldn't think he was,
crazy.
Product.
Told a friend it happened to. I also told him that it sounded like a crazy story to me. He told me when I was 17 in the same area at night hunting, he heard a howl like nothing he had ever heard before. He also told me that something had stalked him, and as he ran home that night. He said he never saw what it was, but could hear it following him through the brush and the swamps. The encounter has changed my life. My perception of what is real and what is not will never be the same again. I still haven't gotten over that night. I went back a few days after the incident and found 2 large dog tracks as big as my hand. I wear a size large glove.
That's a pretty good size canine track.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, would that be a Dogman sighting or a Rougarou sighting?
I'll go Rougarou.
Yeah.
That tends to be the case version. But I know they talk about the Rougarou being like a voodoo curse, but I wonder if the Rougarou is just them trying to explain a Dogman.
Very possible. You remember, Cajuns are descendants of French, so they got a different twist on paranormal and cryptids compared to, say, somebody from Pennsylvania that's Dutch Amish, or a soy latte person in California.
I've got relatives that live in Louisiana, and some of them, difference of opinion. Some of them say Rougarou is just the Cajun version of loup-garou, which is French for werewolf. But then some of them say what you said, Da, that it's
That it's a voodoo
totally
curse.
different. That it's
Well,
a totally
it's-
different thing.
It's funny because the first Dogman type creature sightings were actually recorded in the LBL area, which was back then was the land between the rivers, not the land between the lakes, were actually reported by French trappers back in the late 1600s, early 1700s,
Interesting.
and they called it the Loup Guru.
Yep. Which,
But,
like I said, that's just French for werewolf. That's how
Yeah,
you.
just French for werewolf. I'm curious though. What are you guys thinking, William? I'd really like your input on this, especially. Do you think that the Dogman and the werewolf legend or the Rougarou legend are totally separate things? Or do you think the werewolf legend and the Rougarou legend sprang up to explain Dogman?
Well, I mean, you're talking about cultures across the world that have had legends of canine creatures. Especially coming from France and Spain, they both have their own legends. So I would say that it could be a misrepresentation of the Dogman, but then again, we'd have to explain how the Dogman is across the entire globe.
Same thing with Bigfoot type creatures are across the globe. I know they've got Dogman sightings in Australia, and I know a guy, Leon Howarth, who's a Dogman researcher in England. So it could be that Dogman predates modern civilization. It's just our attempt to explain what they were is how those legends came about.
Well, it could be also that some of the sightings of, like we talked about with the Gugway, could have been misconstrued and as the Dogman too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's a lot to the subject of the misrepresentation of talking about, because you're talking about different legends, including the legends of my own people with the Dogman. And, I mean, it's like Norm said, they're going to describe it how they know to describe it from their culture. And that's pretty much it. So, yeah, it definitely could be a misrepresentation. They all could have been Dogman. But the only catcher you have with the whole scenario is the fact that with the Loup-garou or Rougarou and the werewolf and even the skinwalker, you have a physical transformation from human into it. Whereas with a Dogman, you have no idea if it's a Dogman all the time or if it's a Dogman like part of the time, and then the other time a human. You never know. So.
Yeah, I've often wondered, if there was overlap there, or if it was a separate legend. I mean, much like the Cherokee referred to it as the Ulonga Doglala. Could that be an explanation for a werewolf type creature, or is it Dogman? Me personally, I think it's more of a Dogman type creature. So I think that the deeper we go down that rabbit hole, the more connected we're going to find these legends turned out to be.
Yeah, I also think too, though. I mean, my theory on the Shunka-Wurrikan. So, I really firmly believe that, and this is just my own personal belief. It doesn't make me, 100% factual on it whatsoever. But my belief is that the Shunka-Wurrikan is, in fact, connected to the Dogman phenomena somehow, along with the dire wolf. So
I agree. I've long held that the dire wolf was somehow directly involved with Dogman. Before you came on, we were talking about something, William, and I would like to get your opinion on this before we go to the next story. A friend of mine sent me a screenshot today. He's in a group for Missouri homesteaders, people that try to live off the grid as much as possible, and they live out in the sticks and stay away from towns as much as possible. This guy posted in the Missouri homesteaders Facebook group. He said, "I have a fellow homesteader neighbor next door who found their baby goats decapitated this morning. Any idea what might have done that?"
Huh. And it was just the baby goats, huh?
Just the
Nothing
baby
else?
goats. That's all it says.
I mean, that's almost ritualistic of a satanic cult, if you ask
Depending
me.
on whether they were cut or torn, though. It doesn't say.
Yeah. I mean, if it was torn, it would definitely be something along the lines of a Dogman or even, a Bigfoot that might do it. depending on how hungry they are. One thing I've learned: never go around Bigfoot around 4 o'clock in the afternoon because that's their hungry time.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Mark that down, Norm. We're not going to our spot around 4 o'clock.
No, I don't care how much firepower we got.
Paul. Well, I'm sorry, Paul. I can't pronounce your last name. Coritus. I don't know. I'm sorry, man. I'm a horror.
Cucurutus.
There you go.
Yeah.
Says DA could have been the Ozark Howler that decapitated those baby goats. Without knowing any more detail, I'd say it's just as likely as anything else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know where this is at, but I didn't want to say it on the air until I had a chance to contact the person. But I'm going to pull up the map.
But like I said, just more information is needed because right now it could be anything. You need to know what kind of wound the goats receive, whether a clean slice or ragged, and that'll, like I say, help start down that tree of determining what it could be.
Yep, 100% agree.
Otherwise, we're just throwing out theories of something that we don't have enough information on.
Well, I just pulled up the location that was listed on that. And again, I don't want to say the name of the town. It's here in Missouri. But I can tell you this, it's not very far from where one of the Dogman encounters that we read on this channel was here in Missouri. So it is actually quite close to a recent Dogman sighting.
So it could be a possibility.
Definitely worth a trip up there if I get a chance to reach out to this guy. Yeah, David Bice says also need to know if they were fed on or mutilated. All it says is decapitated. So this is all the information I've got at the moment, but I'm going to look into that more.
Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing more about that. The description of how they were found, if they were found, mutilated or untouched at all, other than the decapitation.
I will definitely be reaching out to that guy to see if I can get more information. David Bice said, I also need to know if they were fed on milks. There was a question. I missed it. Where was it at? I seem to have lost it. Oh well, I guess we'll jump on to the next encounter story. But yeah, that's something I'm going to follow up with on that animal mutilation, because I know animal mutilations are commonly reported near Taylor, Mississippi, where the siege of Lockett Ranch happened, and also at a certain location in Maine that has ongoing Dogman encounters. Ron Yelton says, "Does the Dogman speak Cajun?" I'm not. Maybe. That's funny. Do the Cajuns speak Dogman? Is the question.
Probably.
More likely,
if it's out there, they figured out a way to make a gumbo out of it.
Shoot him! Shoot him!
Yeah, shoot him! This one's out of Louisiana. Hopefully we haven't done this one before, but the guy gave his first name, but I don't know that I should say it, simply because I haven't asked permission. Says encounter with the dog creature in the Louisiana swamp. So in May 2010, Hunter Bone was the name of his German Shepherd. My German Shepherd hunting dog and myself went early to hunt this morning around 5:45 a.m. along the old abandoned railroad bridge that crosses the bayou close to my hometown of Crowley, Louisiana. I guess Crowley's population is about 13,000. As it was early, there was a humid fog and dark enough to not see anything. As we walked slowly in between the rails of this old set of rusty railroad tracks, Hunter Bone stopped and looked ahead down the rails as if he heard or sensed something. With nothing in view, we continued along only for Hunter Bone to stop abruptly once again. What is it, boy? A raccoon? A rabbit? What? Suddenly a huge hairy dog thing came out of the fog down the rail, standing on its hind legs, upright. It says, "Oh, sit." I'm going to guess that meant, oh shit.
Mhm.
I was terrified and fearful and raised my Remington 12 gauge to fire 2 rounds of buckshot over this wolf thing's head. The critter howled loudly and turned to run back up the rails across the old bridge, and I could hear as he snapped shrubbery and foliage in the distance. Hunterbone and I ran back towards the pickup, and I turned about 50 yards to fire 2 more rounds for insurance so we would make it home. As we got to the truck, we hauled boggy fast back to the main road that leads to Crowley. As soon as we pulled into an Exxon station, I saw a Louisiana state trooper and explained my ordeal to him. He says he's had many hairy dog creatures run in front of his cruiser at night, and it disturbed him greatly. But the thing always heads off into the woods or jumps off the road. Well, okay, I'm going home to chill out later. As I sat in my home, I tried to rationalize what the hell I just experienced and why. For one thing, after 25 years of bayou hunting, why the heck did I not ever hear of this thing? This creature will keep me from hunting alone in the future. It really rattled my chain for certain. And I suggest if you're going to hunt here in the south of Louisiana by yourself, you better be prepared. Well, sir, be safe and be watchful later days. Your scout hunting friend, God bless. God bless later. I don't know what that phrase means. Well, if I can find it again. Hauled boggy fast. We hauled boggy fast. I don't know what that means. That's a new one on me. What do you guys think?
Boggy would be swamp.
Yeah. But I don't know what boggy fast means.
Swamp ass fast.
Probably.
Yeah.
Let's go with that one.
Yeah, we'll go with that. So what do you guys think of that one?
Interesting.
Well, that's what
Entertaining
said.
story.
State trooper said that he'd seen, hairy dog creatures running across the road too.
It disturbed him greatly.
Disturbed
That's not
him greatly.
exactly how I would have put it.
Yeah.
It disturbed me greatly.
I mean,
that's.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's definitely keeping his emotions in check when he saw it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently shrugged off 2 12-gauge rounds.
Well, he said he fired over it.
Oh, okay. My mistake.
I don't know that I would have given it a warning shot. If a freaking werewolf come walking out of the fog in front of me, it's getting both blasts right center mass.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that I would give it a warning shot.
I don't even know if I'd shoot at center mass, DA.
Aim for a head.
Yeah. I mean,
well, depending on what kind of choke he had in that shotgun, the spread pattern might have been pretty big.
Yeah, I'd still do a double tap though.
Yeah, maybe even a triple or quadruple tap.
Mm-hmm.
Ammo's cheap, life is precious.
Yep.
Cowboys Pfeiffer says, does anyone have any info on the Dogman of Germany? I know there's a book about mystical creature scenes in the forest of Germany by Mosten Heilmanovsky. I don't know too much about cryptids of Germany, but I do know that there are, when you look at like the missing 411 type cases, there are a tremendous number of people that go missing in the Black Forest every year.
Yeah, that's a pretty gnarly area. I think a lot of the Germanic werewolf tales legends started out of that area too.
Very well could have. Yeah. John Doe says shooting at it might be a one-way ticket to a missing 411.
Very possible.
Well, we've said that several times on this show before that we feel like some of the missing 411 are the ones who actually took shots.
David By says, due to inflation, warning shots have been discontinued. That's funny.
Mark Davis got a good question.
Why would it howl if you shot at it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe pissed it off.
Or a sign of intelligence, like, hey.
Yeah, hey, knock that crap off.
Mm-hmm.
But would it howl or would it bark?
Howl or growl, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know about howling.
I think that's what he said it did. me look back.
I mean, I could understand a growl or maybe even a couple barks, real rough.
That's
But
what it
howling
says. He
is
fired
more-
twice and it howled loudly and turned and ran back up the rails. Yeah.
Howling might signal intelligence that might have been a shapeshifter. That his howling was like either "oh shit" or "go away."
Yeah, might have been an attempt to frighten him off, which obviously it worked.
Or it could have been pack communication.
Definitely.
Yeah, it might have been calling for reinforcements. Probably a good idea he didn't
Yeah.
stick around regardless.
Yeah.
Although I tell you, I need if I'm out in the woods in the fog and my dog starts alerting, that's a pretty good indication to get my ass back to the truck anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but even like Alaskan dogs up there, the sled dogs and stuff that are outdoor dogs all the time, and trained, to a certain point to protect, the person on the sled. If they were in any way attacked, they wouldn't howl, they would bark and growl.
Mhm.
That's what gets me about the whole thing. I don't know, unless like Robbie said, it was a pack mentality shout out to say, come on, give me backup,
Or warning
the
them
only
to
thing.
not come that direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I haven't known wolves, and I had a wolf for a pet for a while, and I haven't known wolves to just howl when they're getting aggression shown at them. So they get more aggressive. So I don't know. It's just strange to me is all.
It does seem odd. Miriam Nunn says, shoot him in the nuts and his howl will be the wrong pitch for calling the pack. That's funny.
Oh yeah.
I like John Doe's comment. He said it's Dogman for hey, some idiot just shot at me.
Yeah.
That's funny too. But which one of you fellers would like the next encounter story?
I'll take it.
All right. Sending it to your messenger now.
Okay.
Hey, Robbie, you might be happy. This one's longer than the one you just did.
Price, it looks like the synopsis for your book.
Welcome to my world, Norm. Welcome to my world.
The torch has been passed.
I give it to you freely.
All right, here we go. Mississippi, Hancock County. This occurred in early December 2011 at 2 a.m. in the morning. A friend and I were sitting in my bedroom, hanging out, and whatever we both noticed something moving on my surveillance monitor. I had a camera pointed down my driveway so I could see whether I had company drive up. When we both looked, I saw what appeared to be a large canine running on all fours, and in mid-run, this came up on its hind legs and continued running across my field and across my drive into my brother's field on two legs. I was in shock, and my friend immediately turned to me with her mouth wide open. I asked her, "What did you just see?" And she replied, "Well, what did you see?" I saw where this thing was going, so then I asked her, "How many legs was it running on?" She replied it was running on 4, but went to 2. I then had a cold chill run through my body as I knew she saw what I had seen. I jumped up and grabbed my night vision scope I had recently purchased and ran to my front door with my friend behind me. I must admit, I was hesitant to open that door for fear of it maybe standing there. So I opened the door while letting out a roar as to maybe shock it if it was there, but it wasn't. Hey, I didn't know. I cautiously walked out on my front porch and took the scope and scanned the front field. There is nothing to be seen, nor do I know which direction it went in besides where I seen it last. I waited until daybreak and went out to where it crossed my driveway and found a paw print that was a good 12 by 12.
Jesus.
12 by 12.
That's a big paw print.
That's the size of my tiles in my
That's
freaking kitchen.
It's like dinner plate size.
I was stunned. I just stood there looking back at the woods it come from and looked south to where it was headed. I had no way to save the print and didn't think to take a picture at the time, nor was my camera recording at the time of the sighting either. From what I could see on camera, this thing was massive in the upper body. I can still remember seeing the muscles flexing and the muscularity in its upper back as it came to its full height. It was running in the weeds. It came up to my waist, but on all fours, it was a good It was a good 2 feet above them, and when it went to full height, I would estimate it to be a good 8 foot tall. Due to the camera showing only black and white, I didn't get to see its color, but it was dark. Its head is something else that stands out, as I could see the snout, its pointed ears, which were laid back whenever it went to 2 legs. I'm an R&D technician, so I'm trained to watch for details. You can see this thing was moving faster than any human. I was transfixed on its form and what I was seeing. It was headed south and into the property that connects to the Stennis Space Center's buffer zone, which is over 100,000 acres of untouched, uninhabited acreage that was put aside for the space shuttle program in Hancock County, Missouri, since the mid-60s. So it has all the resources it needs in order to survive those woods and to go undetected. I've always been an outdoors man, but since that sighting, I will not go out in the woods without a gun on me now. I know for a fact I don't want to run into this thing up close.
Yeah, no kidding.
Something that big, I need bigger firepower than a 458 softball.
Yeah, like a howitzer. Robbie, was that 12 by 12 you held up?
Pretty dang close.
Good.
That's probably about a 10 by 10.
So it was bigger than that.
Yeah. The standard tiles that you get to put down in a bathroom or a kitchen, most of those are 12 by 12. Or those the concrete pavers that you get to put, that's 12 by 12. That's big.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
I wish they'd have sent in a picture of that track. Because the biggest one I've heard of, biggest canine print I've heard of that they believe is Dogman, is one that Jody Cook casted. I believe it was in southern Ohio, and it was an 8.5 across.
Which is
I got some pictures I'm going to send you, DA.
Okay.
In Messenger. All right.
That is a monster freaking track.
Yeah,
Northwood says something that big would need a cannon on an A10.
That's 12 inches across.
Oof. Good God.
Sounds like an elephant print.
No kidding.
You should have them now.
Yep, I got them. Let me download those real quick.
This will be interesting to see what everybody thinks, especially in the chat.
Excuse me.
Let me see if I can get them to come up, because Melon's a little weird about the images. I might have to do a quick crop on them to get them to come up right. All right, let's see if this works right. There we go. That one's pretty well in frame. That's a cell phone for scale.
8 inches?
Probably easily or more. Yeah, probably 9.5.
Okay.
That's only because the toes of it are go over the end of the cell phone. So
Interesting track. How far deep is that? About 2 inches? An inch?
Yeah, I'm going to have to recrop these in another program. You guys do me a favor, just kind of discuss that sighting and other stuff. It's going to take me about 5 minutes to change these over to the proper scale.
That's fine.
So that first picture, William, you said that was about what, 9? How did you say how deep it was?
I'm not sure on how deep it was. It was probably, it looked to me probably to be about an inch deep, maybe.
That's what it looks like.
So you probably talking something at least in the 500-pound range, or more.
I would say probably 550, somewhere around there. Much bigger than me, so.
Yeah. So, and what the second one, was that same area, or was that a different area, or what?
Oh, that was a friend of mine that took that. It was a completely different area. So it was a
At
little further
wintertime?
south. Yeah. Which kind of surprises me because, you would think that these things might migrate, possibly even like the Bigfoot might possibly migrate within that 150 or 200-mile range that we talked about, DA and Robbie, the other night. And
Yeah.
it just surprised me, that the track would be that well preserved in the middle of winter, and that
Yeah.
wasn't that in the light snow either. That was pretty deep snow.
Well,
So-
I've always thought that, especially Dogman, I thought, they follow, like, deer and elk, things that they eat, those move around a lot. I've always thought they followed that. Because if you look at, like, the Beast of Bray Road and look at where the sighting, like, you'll have a lot of sightings during one particular time, and then you won't have sightings for a while, and then it'll come back around. So it's following a pattern, yet they, however many there are. Because that to me, that's one of the most well-known and consistent sightings that has been going around forever, but it follows a concentric pattern of when the sightings happen and when they're not happening. So I think they follow the game.
Here's the first one.
Right.
I don't know if this one would be a Dogman track or possibly a Bigfoot track.
Look at the base of the heel. It looks like
Yeah,
there's a indention, even more so,
Yeah.
going off from the heel.
Well, some rough estimate on that cell phone. If that cell phone is 6 inches long, that makes that track about 13, 14 inches long.
Yes, definitely.
That's a good sized
It's
track.
hard. It's hard to say because it's a sandy type of soil too. It's not like
It looks fairly deep.
a hard.
If I had to guess, that's
Yeah.
probably 3/4 of an inch deep. Hard to say from a picture, but that would be a rough guess. I have no idea what that little offshoot at the base of the track is, though. I'm not sure what would cause that.
My first thought is a tail on this would be like a bird creature almost.
Yeah, but it'd be weird to stick out the bottom of the foot like that.
More than likely, what that could be, and William, you correct me, there could have been a stick there that it stepped on that kind of cut out the bottom of that track, and whoever was taking the picture moved the stick to get it out of frame. Because it does, if you look how the where it comes in like that, it's not symmetrical, because it's like the on the where we're looking at it on the left hand side, you see where it starts to round, but it goes straight down on the right side. So it's like something cut off the back part of that right side of the heel. You see what I'm talking about, William?
Yeah.
So I think it was more
definitely.
something that
Yeah,
it stepped on it.
Yeah, it could have even been a rock that it picked up
Yeah.
too, though. From
Yeah,
the impression.
Yeah.
Something was socketed in there, and it was moved out probably to clear up for the picture.
Yeah.
Right. What gets me is the toe impressions. DA and Robbie and Norm go deep. They almost like it's not really claws, but it's like almost like fingernails.
You think that would be like a Gugway track, maybe? Because the Gugway supposedly have like clawed toes.
Yeah, well, it's definitely
I
that track is definitely it's the way it walks. It pushes off the front of its foot really hard, because that's why those toe tracks are dug in like that. It's not just walking flat footed. It's walking and pushing off. That's why the front of the foot digs in like that.
Now, I'm no expert, but that doesn't really look canine to me. It doesn't look canid.
No, that
well,
Bigfoot or a variant.
Something more one with a messed up foot.
Yeah.
I sent you some actual wolf pictures of prints.
Mm-hmm.
In our area. These are within like maybe a half an hour from where I live that friends took while they were out walking in the woods. So I sent you 3 of those pics. I'm going to send you another one to compare this one to that happened just outside my house.
Okay.
So one that that I've been trying to correlate and investigate and try to picture it with all the other sightings in the area. So let me see if I can find that. Come on.
Lede Perkins has got a good question.
What'd she say?
Let me get back up there. Lord, I just lost it.
Okay, I just sent the one from my place, DA. It's the one by itself.
Okay.
And you'll see the compare. You compare it to the first picture, and you'll see what I mean by it.
Oh yeah. Let me give me just a second to scale those.
Okay, here it is. Question: do y'all believe that land cryptids could have large territories that they travel like cougar and bear?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Any big predator is going to have a
Yes.
lot of square footage.
Yep.
Because cougars
A lot of
range.
elbow room.
Yeah, cougars range what 150 to 200 miles in their circuits, I think. And
Yep.
I personally think that the dogmen follow circuits like cougars. I think Bigfoot range more like bears and have more like a square footage area that they work. But I think dogmen work on a circuit like a big cat does.
Mm-hmm.
And we were actually just discussing that last night, weren't we, William?
Yep.
Yep.
About how they would have a big range.
Yep.
Another show mentioned something similar to that, where in the Oklahoma, Texas area, somebody had a Bigfoot encounter in one part in Oklahoma, and then went to Texas to do some hunting or something, and ran into what he assumed to be the same Bigfoot he's seen before because the coloration matched. And he was talking a couple 100 miles distance.
Mm-hmm. That's very possible. I mean, and we're also seeing in Missouri in particular that there seems to be an uptick of sightings in spring and fall.
Mating season for summer, fall, I couldn't tell you.
That's when the deer seasons, all the animal seasons.
Yeah. Well,
this is the track. This is the track that we looked at first.
Right.
And I will bring up the one that William just sent that we said was just outside his house.
Bigfoot. I think that one's a Bigfoot track.
What do you think it is, William?
Honestly, I don't know. The way it's imprinted into now this ground is very, very hard. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is after like no rain. I mean, I couldn't even like push the grass down in that area.
Yeah.
But it almost looks like when it placed its foot down that it slipped a little bit of its footing. Like it
maybe
was
the grass was dewy that morning and it slipped.
Well, it almost looked like it was chasing something because a little further up, you could see almost like an area where there was a scuffle.
Oh, it was after.
There was no blood or anything like that, so I couldn't follow any blood sign,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like after that, I didn't see it. So it either went up in the trees, which were about probably 35, 40 feet away from that track, the tree line. That track is actually about 40 feet out in a field. So, and it's a field where there's usually like a garden planted and all that too, and there's a lot of deer. So I'm thinking whatever this was might have gotten a deer.
And carried it off.
Right. But if you notice it almost has the 3-toe indentation. Like the other track,
Yeah.
And then it's got the prominent heel.
Yeah.
Well, the heel's dug in, so that definitely, unless it's just the shadow of the way the picture was taken, to me it looks like the heel's dug in like it was running, and that's where the heel planted.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the way that side of the heel's dug in, obviously it favors to that side, so you would say it was probably right-handed. Because if it was left-handed, it would be putting more weight on the other side. So,
right.
like I said, unless that's a shadow on the back side of the hill right there on the right hand side that we're facing, to me that looks like where it dug in as it was running. Like you said, it may have be a pressure release where it made a quick turn to the opposite direction too.
Yeah, where it pivoted on the hill. Yeah.
Yep. Especially if it was chasing something like you said, chasing a deer, and the deer made a quick turn, and that's just a pressure relief from the.
Yeah. And you could tell by the way the grass is pulled away, and the motion of the grass, the way it's laying on the bottom of the print, it looks like it's shifted to the opposite immediately.
Yeah, you talking about where where it's matted down into the middle of the track right there on the left hand side. Yeah.
Yep.
Now here's a picture of the actual wolf track, and that is a very clearly defined wolf track.
Mm-hmm.
And that's right here in Virginia, by the way, where there aren't any wolves.
So they say.
Yeah.
Just like South Carolina. No, there's no mountain lions, but there's been signs of them.
Yeah, I got pictures of mountain lions here in Virginia too.
Well, this track's pretty interesting.
I make out 5 toes.
I hate snow tracks though.
Yeah, snow tracks can change over the course of the day with melting and
refreezing.
Mm-hmm.
Now this was on a gravel road, like the number 2 stone gravel road. So it's probably not that deep because of the stone is what my guess would be. But it's hard to say. I mean, it could have even been some. I don't know. Judging by the shape of it, it looks more like a handprint than a paw print.
Well, it's not symmetrical either, though. There's on the bottom side over here, it's looks like the heel is rounded further out, and it goes straight on the top hand side. So it's just I don't know, unless that's some type of mid-tarsal break right there where it just rolled its foot, but it doesn't. It looks like you said, William, like either a handprint or something that's thawed out a little bit and refroze in a different shape.
Right.
Now take a look at this one. That has not frozen. It is still very sharply detailed.
Yeah.
Claw print.
And
whatever it was, definitely looks like it had claws on the end of its toes. Yeah. That's very
claw print. Maybe your Dogman.
And it's deep.
Yeah.
You know what that actually does look like, though? I mean, if you think about who's seen Silver Bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about the print that when Arnie Western was out there and he shined the light on it, that it was that long. It was just like somebody took a dog's foot or wolf's foot and stretched it out.
Yeah.
Where it had a heel on it, but it still had the front part of. That's what that looks like. I mean, that looks like what you saw in the movie.
Yeah.
So do you think it's possibly not Dogman and maybe werewolf?
Well,
I mean, most Dogman
that we see, their back feet look just like a wolf's foot, but it's just bigger.
Yeah.
All right.
To me, that could be an actual werewolf, because that's exactly what that track looks like. Is what
Ace Band 007 says could be reptilian.
Could be the lizard man of Lee County.
We got the lizard man in South Carolina.
Yep. Did a show on him.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Escape 4. Yep.
Wood says I saw a mountain lion in Augusta County, Virginia back in '86 when I was bow hunting.
Yeah. Yeah, Augusta County is not really too far from where I'm at, so.
Angela John says hello from Louisiana.
More reasons for you to move to South Carolina, DA. You can be closer to all of us.
Heck yeah. Those are great tracks, William. Thank you for sending those over.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw a little bit of spice in here and see what you all thought and see what the people in the chat thought, because I'm open to everybody everybody's thoughts on a lot of this stuff. Because when I investigate, I'm investigating. It's just usually me and my wife, and you know, it helps to have a fresh set of eyes on the subject that you're investigating. You know,
Definitely.
so
Yes.
I would wonder what kind of tracks they found near where those goats were decapitated.
Really.
yeah.
I would. I'm definitely going to reach out to my buddy that sent those to me and see if we can't get a hold of the guy that posted that. Robbie, do you have the next one, or did I send it to you already?
Yeah, I think you did. Let me open my messenger. The Oklahoma. That's the one.
I think that's the one I sent you.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Oklahoma, Cleveland County, June of 2000. I had been up all night at a friend's house in the town of Tribby playing video games. I didn't want to sleep there, so I said goodbye and headed home. I knew my car was making a funny noise, but I thought surely I could get home. Well, I was driving down a long, dark stretch of highway with nothing but forest and a few sparse country houses. I was coming up on top of the long hill when suddenly my car stops pulling forward. The engine revved, but no gears would engage. My CV joint had just went out. I was hoping that wouldn't happen. Well, I had no way of getting it home, so I backed up down the road in neutral and let it roll off the side of the road. I thought about staying and sleeping in the car, but something told me not to do that. I had an eerie feeling of being watched, so I grabbed my video game case and my machete. I think this is one we read before. I think I'm going to get down here and it's going to be about the cop that lit up.
That may, yeah. If that's one that we've done before, my fault.
No, the machete in the game case rings a bell. But you remember which one I'm talking about, where he said the cop pulled up beside him and it lit it up in the ditch. And
yeah, I think this is I think we've done this one before. Well, for those of people that haven't heard it, go ahead and do it.
But yeah, I just rolled down. It is that one, but I'll go ahead and read it. Now let me get back to the video game case, my machete that I had made from a lawnmower blade, and started walking. I kept noticing the feeling of being watched, and it felt like I was being followed. I kept looking behind me, but I saw nothing. But when a car passed by, heading in the direction behind me, it illuminated the area with the headlights, and I saw something behind me. Or I saw something behind me in the ditch. It was hunched down low. It was huge, and I could tell it looked like an animal, but had humanoid features. It seemed to have arms, but its head was most definitely canine. Its head was very large, and its eyes glowed red when the lights hit them. Well, I've seen enough werewolf movies to know that this wasn't a good situation, so I started running. That probably wasn't the best choice because I know that predators like to chase things that run. When the car had passed, the creature had darted into the trees. I thought that was the best time to run, so I did. I ran for about a quarter of a mile and looked back but didn't see anything, so I kept walking. Well, I kept checking behind me and off to the side where the tree line was. I kept where the tree line was. I knew it was still out there and was probably following me. And yeah, I was afraid, but I also prepared to defend myself with my machete if need be. I came up onto another hill and saw a farmhouse off in the distance to my left, down a long dirt driveway. The moon was almost full, and the area around the house was clear, so I could see it I could see a guy out there messaging me with his. I could see a guy out there messaging me with his truck as I walk by. Okay, whatever that means. Then he turned on his spotlight and spotted me with it. I kept walking because his property said no trespassing, and many out there wouldn't hesitate to unload on a strange trespasser. I knew it was close again, possibly closer now, and I was about to turn around and face it when another car came over the top of the hill and passed by me, going behind me again. I followed with my eyes and noticed this time it was a cop, so thinking quickly, I dropped my machete on the edge of the grass and waved as he passed by. His lights hit the ditch as well, and I saw that the Dogman was very close, but it darted into the trees again when the light hit it. Thankfully, a moment later, the cop stopped and turned around. He came back and asked me what I was doing out there, so I told him what happened to my car. I didn't mention the Dogman, though. He may have thought I was crazy, but I asked him for a ride home. He agreed after wanting to go back and check and make sure my car wasn't blocking the road. After we checked it, he agreed to take me home. I don't know what might have happened that night if he hadn't shown up, and it was the only time I was genuinely happy to see a police officer.
Yeah, I think you did read that one before. And when you said he made the machete out of the lawnmower blade, I remember we all broke into sling blade voices last time. I was like, I remember that one now.
Yep. But we talked about that because it was stalking him, and when he turned around, when the patrol car came by him, it lit it up in the ditch.
And if he hadn't to come along, he might have been puppy chow.
Yep. That's a good one though. So I think that one again. That's a scary one.
We've definitely got some folks that weren't listening the night we talked about that one. We've got 158 viewers right now, and that is freaking awesome.
Wow,
phenomenal.
And I think that's the best we've ever done, on a live show. So thank you guys for joining in on us tonight. Much appreciated. If you guys would hit that like, share, and subscribe button, we would certainly appreciate it.
Going back to the lawnmower blade with the making it out the machete out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being scared one time so bad when I was younger that my next door neighbor and I actually took a machete and we welded a circular saw blade to the tip of it and used that to protect us.
Wow,
walking through the woods.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
That'd do some damage.
Oh yeah!
Holy moly!
That's like something you see in one of them video games.
Yeah,
one of them zombie video games.
Or
something.
Yeah,
or somebody's zombie.
Though. We actually did that. Yeah, we actually did that because we were worried about walking through the woods. So,
gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I could see that doing some pretty serious damage or something. Problem is it might not want to come back out.
Yeah. I think we were like 14 and 15 at the time, so
that'll do it.
Old arc welder.
Can't beat the old stick welder.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I just had a new subscriber.
Awesome.
One spooky chick just subscribed. Thank you for joining. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey, hit me up too.
I will post the link to your channel in the chat here in just a second. Let me pull it up.
Hey, William, got a question for you. With everybody talking about Dogman, Dogmen, skidwalkers. Do you think there's a paranormal link to it, maybe?
Well, yes and no. everything. I mean, you can classify everything cryptid as paranormal,
Mhm.
because in some way, shape, or form, it's definitely not normal.
True.
So it's in the para realm, but the skinwalkers and the Rougarou, werewolves, I would say that's more almost supernatural, other than paranormal, because a lot of it is curses, hexes,
Mhm.
black magic, that kind of stuff. The physical stuff like the Dogman, Bigfoot, Lizard Man, that kind of stuff, I would say paranormal. Because a lot of the sightings too, you got to figure they're around water,
Right.
and water has a big paranormal conductive for energy.
Exactly.
Anybody that does ghost hunting and stuff knows that, along with lightning storms. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, we talked about that the other night,
yeah,
didn't we, Norman?
yeah. So yeah, I would classify it probably that way, but that's just my opinion, Norm. It doesn't mean anything. So
I got a theory I want to talk to you about after the show.
okay.
You might like it.
We had another new subscriber. It came and went before I could acknowledge it on screen. I don't know how it's pronounced. It's Atiascry. Atias Cry. Just subscribe. So welcome to the team as well. Thank you so much. We're picking up quite a few new people tonight. This is fantastic, folks. Appreciate that really a lot, very much. Thank you so much.
We're gonna have to figure out what that giveaway is gonna be pretty quick if we don't keep going this way.
Yeah, well, we were within 25 before the show started.
And how many do you need for the giveaway?
We're going to 3,000.
Okay.
And we might theoretically make it this show. We're within 7 now.
Wow.
Holy crap. That is awesome. We've jumped up almost 20 since I checked it before the show.
And we were just talking last week. We were like, we might hit that in a couple weeks, and that was last week. Now here we are, 7 away.
That is awesome.
I know. Make your message get out there.
Very much appreciate all the new subscribers and the full house tonight. Thank you guys so much. I think I'm going to jump into the next encounter story. You guys ready?
Sure.
We'll hit it.
I don't know if I've done this one before. I don't think I have, but it's from Matanuska Valley, Alaska. Happened on October 27th of 1998. This is my encounter took place many years ago. I've never had the faintest explanation for it until a couple of months ago when I randomly stumbled across Dogman on the internet. I was in my early 20s working swing shifts at the time, commuting about 100 miles each way, so it was usually around 2 in the morning by the time I got home. I saw the monster, as I called it, on the northernmost section of the trunk road in Matanuska Valley in Alaska. This area is roughly smack in between the towns of Palmyra and Wasilla. I was only about 10 miles from home at that point, so it must have been around 2 a.m. Trunk road is a narrow 2-lane road consisting of nothing but twists and turns. The surrounding terrain is somewhat swampy and thick with black spruce. It was late October, days before Halloween. There was no snow on the ground, but it was cold enough to be wary of ice. I was driving an 82 Suburban SW going about 20 miles an hour around a curve when my headlights caught a large, dark figure up ahead. I'm bad at judging distance, maybe 6 car lengths away. I instinctively let off the gas, coasting closer. At first, I assumed it was a moose, as the area is infested with them, but no, it was standing upright. Bear then? Nope, not a bear. It looked so strange, tall enough to be an uncommonly large bear, but far too slender, and it looked like it had spikes running down its neck and back. A Halloween prop? Odd but effective place for one. All of these thoughts ran through my head in a fraction of a second. The car was still coasting closer, and I could see more details. It was standing in profile, gazing across the road. I could clearly see its wolfish muzzle, large upright ears. The spikes on its back were in fact clumps of fur. Its spine curved in a very smooth and natural looking way. It was standing in the ditch inches from the pavement. Because I was focused on the upper body, I don't recall anything about its back legs or if it had a tail. I did see its front legs, though, very doggy looking, hanging awkwardly down and slightly toward its front, exactly as you would expect if a dog stood upright. While it clearly had a canine look, there was still something off about it that I cannot articulate. It was perfectly still, and at this point, given the proximity to Halloween, I was quite convinced it was some sort of Halloween prop, because it was clearly not any kind of existing animal. I was deeply impressed and gently stepped on the brakes, intending to stop and examine it closely. Then it turned its head towards me. In the tiny fraction of a second that it took for it to swivel its head, I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. The fluidness of its movement removed any and all doubt that this was some kind of prop. It was horribly, terrifyingly alive. The pale, off-white glow of its eyes shine in the headlights destroyed any possibility of a human in a costume. I think I sat there gaping at it in shock for a few seconds, the car barely moving by now, but still inching closer. I was almost upon it. I think I could have leaned forward and touched the car if it had wanted to. I had to look up to see its face. Again, I'm a bad judge of such things, but I'm 5'4", and it was a hell of a lot taller than me, like a polar bear standing 7, maybe 8 feet. I really can't say. I snapped out of my trance and slammed on the gas. The car fishtailed, and I prepared myself for death by monster, as I was certain I'd end up in the ditch. But the tires caught the pavement, and I drove like a complete maniac all the way home. I didn't look back. I've only been on that section of road a few times since, never alone and never in the dark. For the next several years of driving that commute, I went 20-plus miles out of the way to avoid the trunk road. The thing never made any aggressive moves, but there was something about the way it felt. Very, I don't know, predatory. I never saw anything remotely like it again and never heard any stories about it in the area.
Nice story. Be interesting. I like the fact he explained that he also got the feeling that some people get occasionally, whether good, bad, or other. So that was a good indicator that he ran into something.
Yeah, I like the description of that. I really do. I think that's very much within the realm of believability. I don't that one doesn't really strike me as being, something too fantastical to believe.
Right.
The description seemed natural, the way it moved, and when he first started talking about spikes in the hair, when I first read that, I was like, "What the hell are these spikes?" But then he points out that it was just tufts of fur sticking out. So it seems very believable to me. What do you think, William?
Yeah, I think it's a believable. I just, it's so hard to I mean, your eyes see what what they see, but it's so hard to take and describe sometimes what you can see. You know what I mean? Whether it's adrenaline, whether it's fear, confusion of what you're seeing. So descriptions, I mean, they can vary a little bit. So at least that's been my understanding.
I would agree with that. I mean, we do get a pretty wide variety of descriptions, especially the ones that they describe them as being hyena-like. But this one definitely sounds wolf-like, and the way he described like when a dog sits up on its hind legs and its paws kind of dangle. Yeah, that was a good bit of description there as well.
Yeah.
Have you heard of wolves standing on their hind legs?
I've seen wolves attempt to stand on their hind legs, but they can't stand for very long. I mean, you're talking an actual wolf, because when wolves stand up on their hind legs, they're taller than humans. I mean, they're big animals. So it's not like a dog standing up and leaning against a human.
Mm-hmm.
Now they can do like dogs do as far as that goes. When dogs dance for a treat, wolves can do that too, but they don't have the balance that you need in your hips and your torso to control your legs. So they're kind of shaky when they stand up on their hind legs. So they're not as stable as like a human would be. So that leads you to think that maybe the legs that everybody's seeing on the Dogman, and this is again just a theory, okay? What we're seeing is instead of having that canine almost look of a leg, we're seeing an elongated heel that is bent up at a pivot point on the foot, like the metatarsal, breaking it,
Mhm.
and then you have the calf lower part of the leg, and then the thigh part of the leg going back up the other way. That's what I'm thinking everybody's seeing. But the only way to describe it, because of how they walk and how they run, is a canine's leg, because it looks like that.
Yeah, and that makes sense too. I mean, if that's if you're thinking canine, like you would expect that kind of pose, but I don't know, this one.
Right.
This one just really kind of resonates with me. I mean, the
Yeah.
the fact that they won't take the same road anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and
if
that's
you
a
go 20
genuine fear too.
if you're going 20 miles out of your way just to avoid a stretch of road, that says that it messed with your psyche.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they're already
Yep.
commuting 100 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Fire away, my man.
All right, comes from Canada, New Brunswick. My grandfather told me this story when I was a teenager. I'm 52 now. My granddad grew up in the woods of central New Brunswick, in a very remote area where only survivalists go now. Their whole family lived out in the sticks. They lived by hunting, fishing, trapping, and some logging. Granddad said when he was a teenager, he and his older brother Duke were up in the early hours checking trap lines on an old motorbike. This seems familiar somewhat. It was early fall. Frost was on the grass, and early morning mist still hung around the forest edges. He was rolling cigarettes with his brother, and they were out of matches. So they dipped a bit of cloth in the gas tank and ignited it off the coil wire while Duke kicked the bike over. The sound of a bike being kicked over without ignition is sort of like an animal call. That's how my granddad described it. Anyways, just as they started smoking their cigarettes, my grandfather noticed something bounding through the tree line towards them. Granddad said it ran in a way a bear did, but it stopped several yards away from them and stood up on its hind legs. It was still too far away to tell what it was, but they assumed it was a black bear because they're very common in New Brunswick. That's when it began walking upright toward them. As it got nearer, Granddad said it looked like a huge werewolf. His family origin was German, so this was not unknown. It got as close as 20 feet away from them, and then it began to eye them closely. It sniffed their smokes and then turned and hopped, ran back to the trees. Granddad said they were not scared. He said they were only shocked that such a creature was living in the woods. Granddad said it was taller than any man, had a huge head, evil eyes, long upright ears, hands with long claws, and had hair all over its body. I can't remember what color he said its fur was, but he said it had wolf-like legs.
I think that's one we've done before. I think I remember they, kicking it off the spark plug on the motorcycle. It's pretty hardcore if you're lighting cigarettes off a motorcycle.
Yeah. Done it though.
And I do like that story. I think it's an interesting story. I apologize, folks, if we've heard some of these before. I'm going through the files and looking for ones that I think we haven't done before. And occasionally, I do get a repeater.
It's all good.
No, it's fine here. As far as that description goes, you guys remember me talking about how my people called a certain creature Bear Man. It's almost funny how they described in that story a bear-like creature, because often I think a lot of it is just missed sightings. I really do. I'm not saying it was a bear, but I'm saying, as far as my people go, we didn't have anything to call it other than, judging it by its snout and its size. It was the snout size of bear, So, it very well could have been, a gugway, a werewolf, a dogman, any of them,
What about the rare
So-
chance it was a werebear?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look
Yeah.
at DA's stories, he's got a werebear in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's lore on those as well. But
Yeah.
It'd be
from the
rare, I'd say.
description of this, I would probably go more wolf-like, more of a wolf-like creature.
Mhm.
Or at least
Yeah.
that'd be my thoughts.
Yeah.
Billy Dink, one of the guys in the crowd tonight, says a friend of our family, Lee Hempel, has a place near Elkhorn, Wisconsin, has interesting stories to share of Dogman. Billy, I would, if you would like to put him in touch with me, I would love to talk to him. Email me at daroberts@daroberts.net. I will put that up on the screen so you can give a closer look at it. But just have him contact me, or you can reach out to me yourself at this email address, daroberts@daroberts.net. I would love to chat with him and hear those stories. Oh, another new sub. Abe Brunson just subscribed. Awesome. Thank you so much.
I mean, we're
Very
down to
much
6 to
appreciate
go.
it.
6.
Well, we'll keep checking.
I'll tell you what, you hit that mark tonight. You hit that mark tonight, guys. I'll throw in a Dogman buckskin bag handmade by me
Awesome.
as a gift.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, I've already thrown up a custom made wooden flag.
And
I think
I'll do an autographed book. That would be awesome if we hit it tonight. Yeah, we are 6 away from breaking 3,000, so could feasibly do it tonight. Robbie, did I send you the next one already?
yeah, I got one from Canada.
Okay.
You ready? This is from Canada, St. George, Quebec, June of 1995. A man sightseeing in Quebec snapped 76 photos and made 4 videos in an area known as Park des Seven Chutes, or Seven Chutes Park, near St. George. I took French in high school, but I don't remember how to pronounce all this. St. George de Beauce, de Beauce, maybe. I probably butchered that, but anyway. Quebec. As he browsed through the pictures, something odd caught his eye in photo number 32. There appeared to be something strange standing amid the trees. When the photo was enlarged, a tall brown figure with a baboon-like snout. Gugway, probably.
Gugway.
Yep. A baboon-like snout becomes clear. Not only that, it seems to be clutching a white dog and appears to be staring towards the photographer. He had not seen it when he took the pictures. The photographer, who wishes to remain anonymous, went back to the area and had the photos taken with a man standing in the same spot for comparison, as well as to see if there could have been another explanation. Some skeptics have suggested that it was a rock formation, but the subsequent area photos do not support this theory. Others claim it's simply a case of pareidolia. Sorry, I couldn't see what my phone was saying. Pareidolia, the phenomenon of seeing faces and other distinct images in objects such as clouds, tree formations, or even a cinnamon roll. Remember the famous cinnamon roll that had the uncanny likeness of Mother Teresa of Calcutta? There seems to be more to it than that. This particular image, however, or seems to be more than that to this particular image, however. So what is this thing, and why is it holding a small dog? If it's a Bigfoot, it doesn't match up with most descriptions by Bigfoot eyewitnesses. The animal has a snout like a dog or a wolf, leading some to call it a dogman or a werewolf.
What happened?
We're back.
Did it crash? Are we still on the air?
Yeah, I was reading the story and I looked up and you were gone. It was just me, William, and Norman.
Yeah, my graphics card's going out on my computer and it just decided to go boom. So if I disappear again, that's why.
Yeah,
I think it's Gugway.
it's
Well,
just more weird stuff happening.
Yeah. Well, and in the first part of it, it says it had a baboon face. And down at the end of the story, it says it was more like a dog or a wolf.
Yeah.
And it was carrying a
Yeah.
snack.
Yeah, had a small. Did you hear what it said
No.
about the baboon face, DA? Or did
No, I was completely off the air when that happened.
Okay, I'm gonna read this line to you. The photographer who wishes to remain anonymous went back. No, that's not it. Where was it at? Here we go. When the photos were enlarged, a tall brown figure with a baboon-like snout becomes clearer.
Huh. I would say that's a gugway.
Well, what gets me too, guys, is it the picture that they're talking about that's been online a lot with the actual looks like something under its arm.
Oh, the Beast of Seven Shoots?
Yeah, that's what this
Yeah.
one is. It's from Seven Shoots Park.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
I think that was
thought.
a gugway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it clearly said baboon at the first, and then towards the end of it, he's talking about like a dog snout or a wolf snout, but it said baboon at the first of it.
That's definitely from what I've seen from that picture, it looks more like a gugway.
Yeah.
Or a hyena, type of a thing. So
Hi, Taylor.
Hi.
William, this is my daughter Taylor. Taylor, this is William.
Hello.
all right, Taylor, nice to meet you there.
Nice to meet you too. If I wasn't at work, I'd be on earlier.
No worries.
Somebody's got to work.
Yep.
What's that supposed to mean? I work today.
You sat in a patrol car and watched the football game today.
I'd already been at work for like 6 hours at that point.
It's like me running calls. I spend most of my day sitting down.
Well, trust me, Robbie, I know there was more than one night shift where I sat and listened to podcasts all night because nothing was going on.
Yeah. Hey, small town USA.
And it's a pretty town.
Yeah, he's working the overnight shifts out at Walnut Grove. You might spend an 8-hour shift and see one car go through town.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I stole your seat.
Yeah, I think that's the Beast of Seven Shoots.
Yeah.
Well, that's the area it was in. I guess you had crashed at the point where I was talking about that part of it, where it was at.
Yeah, my computer just decided to completely crap out. It's either the graphics card or the motherboard. My son's not sure which, but something's going out, and it just picks random times to decide to crap out and reset. So hopefully it doesn't do it again, but yeah, you never know. Sometimes it'll go 2-3 days without doing it, then it'll do it 4 times in an hour.
I just know when I looked up from reading, I was like, "Where'd DA go?"
And unfortunately, I can't afford to fix it right now. So
DA went to a portal.
It's going to be a hot minute.
There's one. Forest Ranger at Mount Rainier had a run-in with a werewolf-type creature from Miriam Nunn.
Nice. Where's that at?
Fort Mount Rainier. Isn't that in Washington State?
Yeah, Mount Rainier's,
Yeah.
I believe, is in Washington or Oregon.
I think Mount Rainier's in Washington. I think.
I'd like to hear more about that story.
Yeah. And there was another one.
Anthony Caballos. It says Texas Wraith Hunters. We believe we've run into one in the San Antonio forest. There's a couple of footprints and whistle that were there that follows us. Huh.
Interesting.
Whistles, huh?
Well, that's the thing Bigfoot do a lot, though, isn't it, William? Don't they whistle?
Yeah, well, we're told when we're young not to whistle after dark, after dusk, because it brings them in. So I don't know if that's just a lure tactic that they're whistling to see if somebody whistles back. So I don't know.
Interesting. I know I was telling Robbie that the other day when we did our investigation up there in Greenville County. A couple days later, out by my residence, I hear whistling that's not normal. So I was like, maybe I got to follow it.
Yeah, I've heard lots of stories of things whistling, and again, even when I was a kid, my grandparents used to say, "Don't whistle after dark."
Yeah. And I don't know if it was because it was just a way to keep us all in line. You know what I mean?
I've always heard that.
Even some cultures out along the Washington coast area up to Alaska say not to make anything loud, not to be loud after dusk because I forget what they call it, but it'll come in, put you in a basket, and carry you away. So.
Well, yeah, I've always heard that. Don't whistle in a graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, ironically, cryptids are seen in graveyards.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about dogmen in cemeteries, burial ground, or things like that.
Vigilant Stranger says, I've heard the same thing in the Middle East. They say don't whistle because it brings demons.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what they say about the jinn.
So it's got some proof in lore or legend.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, you guys ready for the next one?
Sure.
Forgive me if I can't pronounce the French, but this is Leary, Quebec. It's L-E with the little hash mark above it, R-Y, Larry. It says, an old friend and I crossed the path of a dogman in the Centre Ecologique Ferdinand de Seguin in Chateauguay, a city situated in the province of Quebec, just at the south shore of Montreal. 1 week before our encounter, without knowing about it, not until after our own encounter, the father of a friend encountered one in Leary, a town next to Chateauguay and connected to the natural park. The sighting happened during the summer of 2005, but for a long time I always believed it was 2008 because I'm bad at remembering dates. But my friend, the second witness, had recently refreshed my memory about it. I'm telling you that because I have already filed a report a couple of years ago, which can be found on this map, written in terrible English, with the wrong year and some misspelling, missing information of the father of my friend, and they added a link. It says the encounter of the creature have followed us along the border of the forest in the entrance zone of the park, doing weird canine sounds, like it was upset or something. We managed to keep our calm. The much we can, as much as we can. Okay, the English is bad. As much as we can, and heading to the car, which was at the fence directly at the entrance door of the natural park. At the moment we entered the car and my friend opened the door, the dome light came on. My friend saw a 6-foot-tall dogman looking right at him at the other side of the fence, like 2 to 3 meters from his car door. He only saw some of its facial features and the eye shine. Don't ask the color. He is Daltonian. What does that mean?
Colorblind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. It was enough to be afraid like hell and move the car away out of there. I never managed to see the dogman directly, and the creature didn't follow us after we departed. The Leary sighting, which happened 1 weekish before our encounter, the father of my friend and the ex-boyfriend of the sister of my friend got out of her chalet one night after hearing a weird commotion behind the chalet. By the way, the chalet is built at the edge of a very big marsh which connected to the natural park. My friend was there that night, but he didn't exit the chalet, only at the end of the encounter. When the two of them arrived behind to find out what was causing all the noise, both of them saw a very large black dog with large shoulders eating something in the brush about 6 to 7 meters from them. The creature turned away and faced them rapidly and began growling at them. The father followed up his instinct and grabbed a large stick near him. Sorry, the English is really bad on this, so I'm trying to paraphrase. The father followed up his instinct and a large stick near him and prepared himself for the worst. At this very moment, the creature stood up, made a very small step or two toward him, continuing growling. The father was shocked up from the scene, and his daughter's boyfriend became white as a ghost. A few seconds after the dogman stepped very, very fast, returned to all fours, and ran a very short distance to jump directly into the marsh to disappear. My friend finally exited the chalet to join his father and his sister's boyfriend only when the dogman had escaped on all fours. So for him at this time, it was a very strange large dog. His father and now the ex-sister's boyfriend never to tell my friend the dog creature had stood up until my friend got his own encounter with me 1 week later. Since then, we speculated that all of us had seen the same dogman or maybe a member of the same pack because of the forest connection between the natural park and his chalet. My friend's family never saw any dogmen again around the chalet since this summer, so we don't know if it was only passing by the sector that summer or if it was living around that area, but generally avoiding humans at all costs, or people around don't want to talk about it to anyone. I don't have any other eyewitnesses of dogman in this natural park. Maybe it was happening, but I guess people will never dare to speak about it in public.
Interesting.
That one's hard to read. I'm going to guess, since they're from Quebec, that the English is their second language, so it was kind of...
It was a pretty good
My
story.
second language too.
Yeah. Speaking of strange dog creatures, though, that wants to.
Stop eating me.
Yeah, Taylor got attacked by the dog man while you were reading that.
It looks like she's getting mauled right now.
He's trying to give me a wet willy.
Sounds like my dog Harley. That dog will lick you until the cows come home.
Stop.
Ron Yelton says, William, have you seen a coyote open a side-loading dumpster with its front paws? I've seen it twice, and also saw a fox walk around the top of the dumpster.
Oh yeah, coyotes are definitely scavengers, man. They can get into anything just like a raccoon can, basically. They will. They're smart. They'll figure it out. It may take a while, but they'll figure it out.
Punch me.
I'm gonna show you a book that's great for pareidolia.
The Optical Illusions book.
There you go.
Yep. That'll test your vision.
I bet it will. Norm, I just sent you another one.
Okay.
Robbie, I'll send you another one here in just a second.
All
Hey,
right.
Robbie, this one's short.
Hey, how about that?
All right, here we go. You ready?
Fire away.
This is Maine, Washington. Of a sighting to report. My old neighbor, who committed suicide shortly after his experience, came to me with his experience. We were both registered Maine guides, hunting, fishing, recreational. Guiding in Maine is a serious business. Criteria are strict, and guides are expert woodsmen with years of outdoors experience. Anyway, he confided in me about this sighting. He was hunting on his own property during deer season of 2011. The property is located on the Jefferson, Washington town lines, which also the Knox-Lincoln County lines in Maine. The particular property is a Christmas tree farm and is private property. My friend was watching a run where deer regularly traveled, cutting through his property. He observed for about a minute a bipedal creature with its upper body well above the Christmas tree. It had a wolf's head, was muscular and covered in hair, but walking like a man. At the end of the sighting, the creature dropped to all fours and took off down the run. He was shaking when he told me the story, and based upon my few years working in law enforcement, I don't believe he was lying. Both of us have guided for bear hunters at the time, and I know he was very familiar with bears and Maine wildlife in general. He made a particular emphasis on the pointed ears. He said it looked like a werewolf. In Maine, people do see these things and generally call them Wendigo. After that sighting, I carried a firearm going to a barn at night. I'm certain that he told me the truth. Unfortunately, for some reason, committed suicide shortly after he told me this about the sighting, which was very fresh at the time. The area has some very large tracts of woods with very limited access due to private property. There is a stream passing through the area and some high ridges. Also, old cellar holes and stone walls are scattered throughout the forest behind the property. Food sources are plentiful in the area with apple trees, berry patches, deer, turkey, snowshoe hares. Bears are present in the area, but not in huge numbers. Moose are also present, but again, not in huge numbers. While I still own a house very near the spot, I have moved to South Dakota and have no intentions of moving back to Maine due to political economic reasons. I'm curious if other Maine folks have seen these things. It seems to me that people have, but always in hushed conversations about an uncle. That's it.
Well, if they move to South Dakota, Norm, they're not going to be as safe as they think they are out there than they are in Maine.
They're going to have a lot more visitors, ain't they? I wonder if it's possible he ran into a skinwalker and it was haunting his dreams.
Yeah, well, skinwalkers can dream walk. In fact, we talked about that the other night too, on the program. So dream walking is very, very common for skinwalkers.
I mean, that would be an opinion. If he committed suicide shortly after his sighting, that
maybe it drove him to it.
Yeah.
Yep. And that'll make a skinwalker even stronger. That'll make their medicine stronger. The more lives that we take as a skinwalker in a skinwalker form makes us stronger. So
I would say skinwalker, maybe.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't know how tall these Christmas trees were, but I get the impression this thing might have been a giant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's our abilities to shapeshift when we do the manifestation process of it are not limited. I mean, you can be, depending on how powerful you are, as big as as a house, really. I mean, height wise, anywhere from 12 to 15 feet. So
it could have been almost 15 foot, maybe.
Yeah.
Because a Christmas tree can be between 6 to 7 feet, 8 feet.
Yeah, it depends on how old they were. There's a couple Christmas tree farms here in Missouri, and sometimes you see them and they're only like just above waist high.
Yeah.
Well, however big it was enough to scare this guy out of his wits.
Yeah.
And that would be something else a skinwalker would do. The more fear they can create, the more energy they'll draw from you.
Yeah, the stronger they become.
Yeah. That's why I say I'd label this one as a skinwalker sighting.
I would agree.
But I'd like to know more about some Maine sightings if there are any.
There are a few, the rest of them are from Maine. And the one I just sent Robbie, and I think the next couple are from Maine.
Okay.
Yep.
You ready?
Fire away.
Fire.
This is from Maine, Oxford County, in 2001. I'm a night owl. I always stay up late at night and watch TV. I just happened to look out my window one night, and I saw what I initially thought was a man sitting on a roof. I thought it was a man because at first he looked almost naked until I saw the hair or fur on him. He then turned his face, and what I saw was frightening. He had pointed ears like a dog and a long snout. They were almost like a German Shepherd's ears. I could not understand what I was looking at. I just stared at him for a few minutes. I felt like if I moved, it would see me. It sat there on its butt with human-looking arms and legs, but with hair or fur covering them. I backed away from the window very slowly and went to tell my husband. He didn't want to get up and go look because he thought I was imagining it. I went back to the window and it was gone. I don't know or understand what I saw that night, but I did tell my husband and kids what I saw. It has haunted me for many years until I was just telling a few of my grandchildren recently at camp. One of them got on the computer and found some pictures of what they thought I meant. It was so scary. I was looking at the same thing I saw on the roof that night. I could not believe it. As I sit here looking at the picture, I did not know it really existed many, many years ago. Dang, I'm not used to being done that quick.
Yeah, you don't usually get the short ones.
Got a short one on Wednesday.
Interesting story.
Yeah. Well, she didn't really get into a whole lot of detail. I mean, but to me, that sounds more almost werewolfish because she didn't really say it. She said the legs and the arms were human-like,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just covered with hair.
I'd go wolf.
It had the face of a more like a German Shepherd type. So I mean, I wouldn't say Dogman on that one.
Yeah, that one's just weird.
Yeah.
You ready for the next one?
Sure.
All right. This one again comes from Maine, New Portland, and Lexington. Not a sighting, but hearing two very unusual howls in the woods behind my property. October 1st, shortly after midnight, full moon too, so it was almost like your classic horror movie script. I live in the town of New Portland, Maine. Lived in Maine woods all my life and very familiar with the sounds of local wildlife. It certainly wasn't coyotes, as I hear them mostly every night. Not Bigfoot-like sounds either, as I looked up on the internet. Two short howls about 20 seconds apart from each other. Canine in nature, but deeper and louder. Big lungs. Hard to determine the proximity. Could have been as far away as half a mile from my property, but it sounded nearby nonetheless, and I had a strong gut reaction to better go inside, while I have never felt threatened by any wildlife sounds before. Just reporting this as a backup in case there would be reports of sightings in the area. I also like to report a possible sighting that a friend told me. In August of 2016, early evening, he got chased out of a farm in Lexington, ME, which is not too far from here. He is an avid hunter, and he described it as something way bigger than a bear or a moose. He was alerted by his two Rottweilers in the back of his truck, going in full panic mode when he saw something huge standing on two legs next behind a tree 20 foot away in his rearview mirror. It then leapt on all fours toward his truck. He started the truck and bolted out of there, seeing the thing chase him in the mirror for a short while. Don't think he reported it, as he still can't really accept what he saw and doesn't like talking about it. I did not know about Dogman back then when he told me. Just started researching after I heard the unusual howls I heard a couple days ago. I hope this is useful to you. My experience was not a visual encounter, but hearing unusual howls, unusual enough to start searching the internet. I listened to the audios on the link you sent me. Honestly, what I heard was not like any of those, although it came close to the third audio, which sounded more like a coyote to me. What I heard was in the howls being shorter in duration, but deeper and louder. Exactly this aspect suggests that it was a bigger than a coyote, wolf, or a dog. That and a gut feeling being very, very uncomfortable and feeling I needed to go to inside quickly. Like I said, I hear the coyotes almost every night around here. That howls one time only, and have not heard it since, and I'm glad of that. The sighting in Lexington 2016 was by a friend of mine. He told me once just after it happened, but still can't come to terms with what he saw, and he'd rather not talk about it. I never heard of Dogman back then. It wasn't until I started researching your site and other material 2 weeks ago that I connected the dots and realized that this is probably what he had seen and what I have heard. Altogether, I thought I report it as a confirmation in case other reports in this area. It's interesting that the howl put the fear in him, and I think that would be a typical for something of like a Dogman if it was a howling to put fear.
Oh yeah, definitely inspire fear.
Hey guys, I hate to do this, but I got to cut out of here. I'm at about a 2-hour mark, so I got some things I got to take care of before I end the night. So, but Taylor, keep them all straight. Keep Robbie in line.
Got it.
William, thank you for joining us, man.
It's the most difficult.
All right.
Nice to see you, William.
Will not
All
let
right.
me do anything for him.
All right. Well, Norm, get a hold of me through Messenger, okay? DA, if you need anything, Robbie.
Tomorrow
Taylor,
will
if
be
you
good.
need help keeping them in line, let me know.
Well done.
So,
I'll call you.
Hey, brother.
bye-bye, everybody.
Night, William.
Good night. Sorry, had to change that around.
That's okay.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird look.
I got completely cut out.
What you got there, Doug?
Well, the last one I've got is one that again we've talked about this on the show before, and it's one that I wanted to save for myself at the very end. This is the incident that happened around Palmyra, Maine. To me, it is one of the best Dogman stories that I've encountered, short of the LBL story. And from what I'm given to understand, this family is still having trouble on this property with Dogman type creatures. And it's a place that Nick Valente, you guys know I'm with the NADP. Nick and I were at the NADP. We've both talked about going up there, maybe planning an outing in the not so distant future, maybe spring, to see if we can find out what's going on up around Palmyra. But this is a fairly significant story because it just illustrates how dangerous these things are. And again, short of the LBL story, this is one of my favorite Dogman encounters. You guys ready for this?
Yep.
All right, folks, here we go. This happened around in Palmyra, Maine. I don't know if I won't say the name of the family, even though it's been mentioned on other podcasts. I don't have direct permission to use their name, so I won't mention their name. But this family had downsized their lives. A workplace injury had devastated the father, and the mother left her job to take care of him. As a result, they were looking for a less expensive place to live. They found a beautiful older farm in Palmyra, and that's just what they needed. It was surrounded by dense woods. The father's family had always been hunters, and his fairly extensive collection of guns was a bone of contention with his wife. With the help of his son, they built a strong box to hold the guns under lock and key in the barn. The son and the mother had a routine of I'm sorry, it was the father and the mother. I'm reading the names there, and I don't want to read them out loud. They had a routine of evening coffee on the sheltered porch, provided it wasn't too cold out. One night, they noticed a strange pulsating light down past the tree line. At first, they thought it was just a poacher with a flashlight, but something didn't seem right. The mother thought it was unnatural, so the father and the son headed out into the field to investigate. As they approached the woods, the lights went out. They said it was so quiet, the snap of a tree branch under the foot seemed to echo. They went around with their flashlights off, hoping to catch any potential poacher unaware. They said he felt something far beyond any fear he'd ever felt hunting. All they found was each other, not even a track on the ground to give them a hint of what they'd seen. His daughter's boyfriend came for a visit, and they decided to go for a walk in the woods with the dogs. The dogs ran out ahead of them, catching a scent. When they caught up, the dogs were rooting around by a large hole in the ground. The daughter's boyfriend thought that the overly round hole had been dug with care, but the daughter had a bad feeling about it and urged them to leave. Finally, they agreed, but they weren't sure what the dogs had found. It was Memorial Day weekend, and they were making their evening coffee. The dogs didn't want to go outside to their pen. Something wasn't right. The father noticed that it was particularly quiet on that misty evening. When he heard an odd sound in the distance, he knew there was some sort of danger out there. So he started to usher his wife into the house. At first, she didn't want to go, but when she heard some of the rustling in the distance, accompanied by 5 sets of eyes looking back at him, she realized the danger. They rushed in the house and locked the door. The father knew it wasn't a bear, but it was huge and dangerous. The guns were in the barn, and he wasn't sure his family was safe in the house. He wanted to go get the guns, but his wife told him to stay. They went up to their daughter's room and woke her up. When she was half awake, she looked out the window, but laid back down and went back to sleep. All 5 of the creatures were still there. One stood on its hind legs and looked right at the mother. The father felt an instinct to protect his family. With the creatures in the distance, he thought he might be able to get the family car backed up close enough to get them out. Even though he was disabled, he went outside. The mother went through the house, closing the windows. She finally found the 2 hunting dogs hiding in a shadowed corner. If the dogs were scared, she was really concerned. When the father reached the porch, he realized he might have the distance to get there, distance from the creatures. It was going to be the longest 20 feet of his life. He started to slowly walk toward the car. When he finally reached it, grabbing the keys and trying to unlock the door, the motion sensor lights popped on. The father was very scared and had suddenly realized how vulnerable he was. Suddenly, he was face to face with one of the creatures. It tried to reach into the light, but something stopped it. It bolted off into the darkness. So he decided to head back to the house. They decided to call the police, hoping for someone else to drive in while they remained sheltered. The police didn't take them seriously and told them to close the windows and lock the doors. Nobody was coming. They were on their own. When they heard the creatures approach, they were on the other side, the outside wall, and if they wanted in, they were going to get in. Her family was being held hostage in their own house by these creatures. They weren't able to get to the guns. There weren't any police coming. What were they going to do? Grabbing every sharp implement they could find, they went and woke up their daughter again. They needed all hands awake and alert. They went to the master bedroom and laid on top of the bed, armed, waiting for daylight to come. When they heard the creatures outside, they were petrified. The only thing between them and the creatures was the bedroom window. When morning came, they could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The creatures were gone. The father and son went out to look for tracks. The tracks they did find were huge with enormous claws. They showed a creature that could walk on 2 feet. These creatures had been hunting and stalking them all night. Were they werewolves? To this day, nobody knows.
Interesting.
That Palmyra story is pretty terrifying. There's more to that story that I've heard through other sources. That was the official NADP sighting report. At one point, he tried to make it to the barn and ran back into the house. And every time they would get close to the light, they would back out of it. For some reason, these things would not come into the light.
Photosensitivity.
There had to be some sort of photosensitivity. But I'm surprised that when he was out there and nearly came nose to nose with one, light or no light, I'm surprised it didn't attack him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have heard bits and pieces of that story before. But it's terrifying to think about being in that situation.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet they kept the guns in the house after that.
Oh yeah. I'm curious about the light though in the woods that preset incident.
Makes you wonder if it was some sort of like a will-o'-the-wisp, or maybe they were seeing, I don't know, maybe
A portal opening?
Maybe. I mean, I'm kind of a solid evidence guy. I've never experienced a portal, so I'm not really in that camp. But I'm not saying it's impossible. I would never say I would never say it's impossible. I mean, we know from CERN messing around with a super collider, the portals can be open. They are a real thing. But when it comes to creatures like this, I think Occam's razor applies. I think they're strange enough without adding another mystery to them.
I'm curious about that hole they found in the ground, how big it was, and possibly how deep it might have been.
If it had been me, I would have gone back out there probably with a 5-gallon can of gasoline and dumped it down that hole and set it on fire.
Make homemade napalm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That Palmyra incident really freaks me out. Well, number one, I love my wife dearly, but she's never going to convince me to lock my guns up out in the garage. But she would never ask me to. Number two, these things, I firmly believe if they wanted in the house, they'd have gotten the house.
Yeah.
But
it might have been weird. It might have been a light in the house that might have been preventing them from coming in.
Could have been. I mean, like you said, if they've got a light sensitivity, maybe that's what. AJ Congan says that the AX Machina podcast, was this by chance on These Woods Were Haunted? I think it was profiled on These Woods Were Haunted.
Yeah, I've seen it somewhere before. It may have been on a TV show. I think I heard it on a podcast.
There's a number of podcasts that have done the Palmyra story. I know Josh Nanochio from What Lurks Beneath has done a good version of it.
I think that might have been more because I've listened to a lot of his podcasts. Maybe that's
Josh has got a great channel. But I would definitely think it would be, there's certainly more detail to it. The version that the NADP got, I think, is lacking a lot of detail.
I'd be interested in going up there and seeing myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Nick and I plan an outing, I definitely want you guys to come along.
Oh yeah.
If we can get access to that area, I am definitely going in armed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree. Like with all these creatures, they're always described as very large. With like humans, it may not be the same thing, but with animals, typically the larger, the more strong they are. If they're as big as like what's described, typically like no shorter than like 6 foot tall, like they definitely could have gotten in if they wanted to.
I don't know if dogmen are supernatural. Some people have referred to them as demonic. I don't know if that's true or not, but it certainly wouldn't stop me from dipping bullets in holy water.
No. Well, and we've talked about
cover your bets.
Yeah, we've talked about that too. That, a lot of the people, or I'd say probably at least 85 to 90% of the sightings that we talk about, a lot of them say that they felt that evil
hellish or demonic. It was pure evil. If we were using hollow points, put an eyedropper of silver nitrate into the hollow point and then drop some wax on it, just in case.
Yeah.
Hey, it almost worked for Roy and Jaws.
The thing is, we don't really know.
For Jaws too.
We don't really know what these creatures are. We try to, but we don't know what they are. So if you believe anything's gonna work, why not take that chance? Because
exactly.
It's better than nothing. Like if it is true, then better safe than sorry.
And if it's not true, you're not out anything.
Yeah,
nope.
That's why the saying is plan for the worst, hope for the best.
Exactly.
You never know what's going to happen, and we don't know what these things are.
I'd like to know just did. I'd like to know if there's still follow-up activity that's still being reported.
I don't know that it's being reported, but Nick Valente knows people that live in that area, and they say that there's sightings of creatures like that all the time in that area. It's pretty much ongoing, although they're not reporting it anymore because I guess they got so much negative flack off the first time they reported it.
Well, and too, they probably feel like they're not getting any help anyway. They call the police. Police don't show up.
Yeah.
Blue Cruz says, I remember watching a redramatization of that family's encounter in Palmyra, Maine on the Sci-Fi Cable Channel series Paranormal Witness, The Wolf Pack, Season 3, Episode 9. I'm going to go back and watch that again. Again, this is just one of those stories that sticks with me. One, because in the full version of the story, there was just such an overwhelming feeling of dread. I mean, I felt bad for this family because they were being hunted. They were actively being hunted. And I think Norm's right. There's something either about a sensitivity to light that they didn't come in the house, or if these things are creatures of paranormal origin, if they're demonic in origin, there's something about crossing the threshold of a home without being invited. So maybe that's what.
in the full version though, wasn't there when he went out to get the car, wasn't it that he was trying to get into the car and he looked up and there was like 4 or 5 of them just sitting right around the
They
perimeter.
were coming close.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm not going to be the guy that says, no, it's definitely not that. I'm a physical evidence guy. Too many years in law enforcement won't let me rely on the evidence that I can see, feel, and touch. I'm a physical evidence kind of guy. However, there are no experts in this field. And anybody that says they are is lying to you and trying to sell you something. We don't know. And that's the dangerous thing about these creatures is we just don't know enough about them to know what they are or how to really properly defend ourselves. There have been so many recorded sightings of Bigfoot that have been peaceful. Even some reports were like, I read a couple of accounts of loggers. One was trapped by a log and a Bigfoot creature rescued him. There was another report of one that had fallen and broken his leg and it carried him back to camp. You don't get that with Dogman. Dogman encounters they're predators.
They're violent.
They're violent. They're dangerous. And in the case of the Palmyra incident, it was far more dangerous than just that little snippet that I read indicated. Because when they tried to get to the guns and tried to get to the car, these things almost got them. Very dangerous situation. And from what I'm given to understand from Nick's contacts, it is ongoing. It is something that is still happening. And I don't know if the family that was involved there either moved out of the land or if they're still there. I don't know for sure, but it's something I want to find out about. But it's, if I finally found my dream home, and I do love the thought of living in a cabin out in the woods. My wife will tell you that. I've been talking about that for decades. She, however, has no such plans. She does not like to be away from basic services or out here where these things can bump in the night. But if I did get my dream cabin in the woods, it would take heaven and hell to run me off that land. I would fight to the last breath. I'm not going to be run off my property or run off my land by anything. It might kill me, but it's going to remember my name when it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Fair enough, but nope.
I always said when I was a cop, I might get killed with my own gun, but they're going to beat me to death with it because it's going to be empty.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Crew says, I believe the Palmyra, Maine Dogman werewolf encounter occurred in 2007 during the July 4th weekend, although the year 2007 calendar online shows July 4th as being on a Wednesday. Yeah, this encounter is one that I find very, very fascinating. And you guys all know I went to LBL and had a sighting in LBL. But the Palmyra incident is just as compelling to me as the LBL incident, even though nobody in Palmyra was actively killed, like according to legends and stories coming out of LBL. However, I think they very well could have been. And if it's ongoing, I'm wondering if there aren't missing people in that area that we're just not aware of.
Or just reported as missing, presumed dead.
And something else we talked about, and Robbie and I could tell you this, transient population, homeless people, if they go missing,
Nobody knows.
Yeah, nobody knows. One, it's not going to get reported. And two, if it does get reported to law enforcement will say, hey, this is a homeless dude. They might have just moved on. We don't know. It's not like, somebody, with a house and a job just suddenly disappeared one day. This is a transient population that does tend to move around. So that makes reporting them missing that much more difficult. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's much more difficult to track somebody who doesn't have a physical address or who doesn't have a constant location. So if the transient population starts disappearing, we may never know.
Yeah, there was a homeless guy up near where I used to go to school. Me and my mom stopped one day and gave him some food and stuff and got him some money, everything. That was maybe 3-4 years ago. I haven't seen him since.
Yeah.
Well,
Moved on.
Yeah, she's talking about the town that I work in, and
you probably know who I'm talking about.
I see new people every day that I'm like, who is that? I've never seen that person before, because we got a homeless shelter it's not in the city. It's city all around it. It's actually in the county, but we get people bust in from other places, and and it's like every day you see somebody. So if they come in one day and then they're gone a week later, nobody would ever know.
Yeah.
Like I saw this guy all the time, but after we helped him out, I never saw him again.
Mark Napier said, "I would never tell 911 it was anything other than a person or a silhouette." Yeah, you're going to sound crazy if I will admit if I had gotten a call from dispatch when I was an on-duty officer and they said, "Now you got someone in your area that just reported seeing Bigfoot outside their house," I would have been that guy who would have been, "Oh, hot dog, here we go." I would have been off like a shot trying to get over there and find it. But most officers would be like, "Yeah, I'm going to go eat lunch first," because a lot of people don't believe that sort of thing. But yeah, it's definitely something that doesn't get taken as seriously, even by law enforcement, as it should.
Yeah.
Because if someone says, "Hey, I saw what I think was a werewolf outside my window," and you blow it off, what happens if it was a guy trying to abduct their teenage daughter wearing a werewolf mask? You got to take these things seriously, and unfortunately, a lot of agencies do not. Just because they say it looked like a Bigfoot, it's not saying it's not a guy with a gorilla mask on. So they should really take these things more seriously than they do. And again, with this Palmyra thing, it is something I think the law enforcement should have taken seriously. If it'd been me living there and someone in my family got mauled, I can promise you there would be a major lawsuit involved in the city and the county of the county they're in, or the city that responds. Whoever the agency that was supposed to respond would have been paying out a hefty payday, because I would have definitely gotten a lawyer and said, "Sick 'em."
Yep.
Because if they blow off the call and somebody dies, that is on them, 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
And even if they didn't believe it, they said it was a werewolf. Well, it turned out it was a bear, and it mauled this guy to death because you blew him off. So you can't take this with and just say, "Oh, it's BS." You can't do that. So when I was on duty, even if somebody would say, "Hey, we got some chucklehead called in, said he's got a werewolf outside his house," I would have went. I would have went to find out what it was, because what if it's a serial killer wearing a werewolf costume?
Anything's possible.
Right.
The police job is to protect and serve.
Exactly.
From no matter what.
Well, what was that? There was just a movie recently about that where
it was a guy who was dressed as a werewolf.
Yeah, he was a serial killer, and everybody.
Yeah, I watched that movie. I can't remember the name of it, but it was pretty good.
Yeah,
it was a little cheesy, but it was still good.
Like back in 2016, when we had all these killer clown things, like you're gonna get a call and say there's a clown chasing me. You're gonna be like, no, that you're fine, but it was an actual thing that happened. People died from these.
Yeah, I remember that.
People dressed up as clowns, and some of it's still happening. Like some people are still obsessed with the whole killer clown thing, and there was a lot of false reports, but at the end of the day, people did die from this stuff, and not everybody took them seriously.
If I ever see something looks like Pennywise, there's going to be somebody in a clown suit that died.
Yeah, if somebody's chasing me, I don't care what they're dressed in. If they're coming after me, they're probably not
Dogman. Something looks like Pennywise comes at me, get out of my way.
We all float down here.
No, we don't.
He put his chainsaw up to my neck. We were in a haunted path, and the clown decided it was a good idea to put this big chainsaw up to a little crying girl's neck.
I'm guessing that didn't work out well for him.
No, he had his police hat on. I'm pretty sure we got that guy fired.
Mark Napier says if a clown shows up my yard, the coroner will find him there.
Amen, Mark. Amen.
Yeah. I get police force should always take these calls seriously, but outside of that, you can't always you can't blame people for not believing, because it is kind of
But
fantastical.
from a law
like,
enforcement standpoint, and
law
DA
enforcement, absolutely, they should take it seriously.
No, that's
but-
not what I'm about to say. We don't have, and DA will back this up. We don't have the luxury of looking at a call that comes in and says, I don't believe that. I'm not going in. We get a call. We got to go. It's call for
Dispatch
service.
sends you a call. You go.
Yeah, you got to go.
Yeah.
You have the right to think, oh yeah, well this is stupid, but you still have the obligation, because when you take that oath, when you get swore in, I mean,
and even if it's the third time that week, you still go.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lady that used to live in the city that we got calls to her apartment like nightly, because she would say that there was people or kids upstairs that would run in her house and go in, and so we'd have to weekly go in and chase these kids out. There's nobody in there, but we had to go, and because the one time that you don't go, somebody's really broke into her place and killed her.
Yeah. And the liability's on you.
Yeah.
I always tell my friends, like, I've had some friends in some bad situations. I always tell them, you don't need proof. You don't need to wait till they hit you. If you are uncomfortable, call the police. They will come and help you. You just need to tell them you are uncomfortable and you feel threatened. That is all you need. That's all you should need.
Yeah, I agree. Holy moly, we're coming up on the 2.5 hour mark.
Yep.
Well, I don't think we're going to quite make it on this show. We're at, what's rebooting now? 2295. We are 5 away from breaking 3,000. So probably by the next show, we'll be doing a giveaway. Folks, just a reminder, if you're going to go out, it doesn't matter if you're camping, hunting, fishing, backpacking, cryptid hunting. If you're going to do something like that, have a plan. If wherever you're going, tell someone where you're going. Tell them when you're going to be back. Someone that's not going with you. That way, if you don't make it back on time, someone knows to look for you and where to look. Take something to defend yourself. If you don't believe in carrying firearms, take a walking stick. Take a machete. Take a can of pepper spray. Take something to defend yourself, because there are things out there in the woods of North America and all around the world that can and will eat you. And that has nothing to do with cryptids. It could be bears. It could be mountain lions. It could be the greater North American meth head, as I've mentioned before. There are things out there that can and will kill you. Take a med kit. I recommend Dark Angel Medical. Dark Angel Medical makes the best kits in the business. I carried one throughout my law enforcement career. Carry Pocket Doc Davis, who's usually here but who couldn't join us tonight, is a U.S. military veteran, served our country with distinction, and he created this company. And he created Dark Angel Medical, and I definitely believe in supporting our veterans and the businesses that they create. Go over to darkangelmedical.com, use the code CRYPTID25 for 25% off your order. Take a med kit, know how to use it. When you're away from basic 911 services, the life you save is probably going to be your own. And in the deep woods, even minor injuries like a rolled ankle can be fatal. If you can't make it back, they're scavengers like coyotes that can and will eat you. If you can't get away, they will get brave. Just be careful. Take the basic supplies, because just because you're only planning on being out there for a few hours doesn't mean you might not be stuck out there for a few days. Space blankets are cheap. You can get them on Amazon for like a dozen of them for like $5, and they weigh nothing. It's a Mylar blanket, and it will hold in body heat. It will keep you warm even in some very frigid conditions. Take basic fire starting kit. Get a life straw. Life straws are about $20. One of the best investments you'll ever make. You throw one of those in your pack. I've got one in my pack and one in my car. They'll filter about 100,000 gallons of water before they go bad, and you can stick one straight in a river and drink straight out of that river. That water will filter out even certain radioactive contaminants. That filter is fantastic. And remember the rule of 3. 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. The rule of 3 will keep you alive. Another good thing, if you've got a pack that you go out there, take some sort of edged weapon. One of the best tools humanity ever created was a knife. I have several on me at any given time. I'm a big promoter of Scallywag Tactical because it's another veteran-owned company, and they make fantastic blades. But even if you go to Walmart and buy you a $5 folding pocket knife, have something like that in your pack, because that tool is worth its weight in gold if you're out somewhere and you need to use it. So make a kit, get a med kit, take something to defend yourself, and make a plan and let somebody know when you're supposed to be back. Because, when the chips are down and seconds count, 911 is 15 minutes away.
Or longer.
If you're in a rural area, it might be hours away if you can get a signal on your phone at all. And search and rescue can sometimes take days to find you. Be prepared to save yourself, because sometimes that you're all you got. Again, remember to keep Anthony and Uncle John in your prayers. They had a death in the family. My prayers are out to them. My heart's out to Uncle John and Anthony. Love you guys, and we'll definitely be praying for you guys. Keep them in mind. Doc's traveling. Hopefully he'll be back with us this coming week. And don't forget to throw Robbie in your prayers as well. He's still an active cop, and that's a dangerous job. And I can tell you from experience, it's a dangerous job. Norm too. Norm's an EMT. That's a dangerous job. Our first responders get attacked on a daily basis, and it's not something that gets reported in the news because it's not popular, but people get hurt all the time. I'm living proof of that. I've been the guy that's been carried out on a stretcher, and I've also helped carry other officers. It's a dangerous profession, and thank God for the men and women that do it. So now we got a super chat from Tombstone. Hey, appreciate it, man. Thank you. This is another great show. Thank you, good people. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tombstone.
Thank you.
We are, again, 5 away from the 3,000. We're going to do a giveaway when that rolls around. Robbie's got something. I think Doc's going to throw something in, and I'll probably do an autographed book or two. So we've got stuff coming up for this 3,000 big milestone.
I can throw some stickers on.
Cool. That would
All I
be
got
awesome.
is my good looks. All I got is my good looks.
Norm, you've already given that away, buddy.
Yeah, he gave that away for free. But again, thank you, folks, for everything. Tonight was just fantastic. We had well over 150 people in the chat, which is, I think, is a record for us. Just an awesome to see the growth this channel has had over the last couple of years. We're not even 2 years old. The channel will be 2 years old, I believe, in April. So we're a year and a half old, and right here at our 3,000 mark. So appreciate each and every one of you guys that are supporters of the channel. Make sure you'll hit the like, share, and subscribe button. So, send some love over to William Nighthawk over at Nighthawk High Strangeness Podcast on here on YouTube. And again, thank you guys so much for being part of the family here at DAX Machina. So support your veterans groups like Dark Angel Medical, Scallywag Tactical. There's a company called Got Your Six Coffee. Fantastic coffee. I've had their coffee many times, and they're a big supporter of law enforcement, military, first responders. So show those guys some love too. I'm not getting anything from any of these guys. These are just people that I proudly support. Again, thank you guys so much. Thank you for everything. If you have not checked out the first parts of Odin's Call, are now up on Cam Buckner's Dixie Cryptid podcast. Those are going like gangbusters. We're doing a special promotion over there for the Codename Wild Hunt narrated books, audio books. So I hope you guys will go over and check those out. And again, well, thank you guys so much for being part of the family here at DAX Machina. Oh, and Nighthawk says, don't forget my Buckskin Dogman giveaway. So he'll be throwing that in for the 3,000 as well. So that's awesome. William, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. Robbie, Norman, you guys got anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Just be safe. Come back next week.
Robbie, plug your podcast.
Yeah, my Norman's podcast. I just uploaded our last episode, which is Crybaby Bridge.
Yep.
That just went live just a little while ago, or not live rather, but just went out. Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Spotify,
Pandora.
Yeah,
Amazon.
most of well, we're not quite to the episode level to go to Amazon
Okay.
yet. We're on the waiting list. As soon as we get to our episode list number, we'll go to that. But same thing with Apple. Once we get to a certain episode
Sweet.
number, if you need to get in touch with Norm and I about anything, the email address is what's really out there 2022. No apostrophes or anything like that. Just written all out like that. What's really out there 2022 at gmail.com. If you got something that you want us to investigate in the upstate or anywhere, or just look into, or a story that you want us to read like we just did here, give us an email. We'll look into it. Be glad to do a show on it. Be glad to have you on the show if you got something that you want to talk about. Norm, anything else?
Nothing I can think of. You covered all the bases.
Definitely check out their podcast. They've got some great content over there. You guys will enjoy it. Make sure you check out Codename Wild Hunt over on the Dixie Cryptid podcast. I think you guys are going to get a kick out of that. The new book, Man's Marauders, A Planet Too Far, is in edits now. We're working on getting the cover finalized and getting that. Hopefully we'll have some release information on that very soon. And hope you check out all my books over at daroberts.net. And if you want to see some of the advanced stuff before it's even out, check out my Patreon group over at patreon.com/DARobertsAuthor. And again, thank you guys for being part of the family. Thank you guys for making this show what it is. It is. I've said it many times. I'll say it again. We don't have fans. We have friends. Stories are journeys that we take together. And thank each and every one of you guys for taking this journey with us. You guys are amazing, and we will see you guys on Wednesday night. Good night, everybody.
Night all.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAX Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.